All right, Tim, well, welcome back to another conversational episode here. I wanted to get together with you to talk about the book, Crisis of Command. I got a copy of it right here just for some notes or whatever. And this was a case that was highly prolific in national news. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, how he actually exited the Marine Corps because of a stance that he took. So first of all, as an attorney, what did you think overall of the book itself?
I actually really enjoyed the book. I went into this book with very low expectations, to be honest with you. Reading the first half of the book, up until I got to the legal section, I could really get behind Lieutenant Colonel Scheller's arguments. I tend to agree with a lot of what he says about the way the leadership is currently in the military, not just the Marine Corps, but in the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy.
Overall, right.
I think right now, overall, we have a severe lack of quality leadership in the military. And I think this book does a really good job of showing how this system perpetuates itself because you're looking for yes men, yes women, and it doesn't give outside thinking in the military. If you get a lot of outside thinking, it doesn't work really well. You are really trained to please the boss, whether it's an 05 pleasing the 06 to please the 07 or the senior leadership. And if you have independent thought, it's really not well received. And so individuals, think of great CEOs. I mean, think of Elon Musk is in the news all the time, every day, for whether it's Tesla or with Twitter. Someone like that who has real genius or the ability to think outside the box would never get promoted in the military, ever. And Stuart Scheller does a really good job of breaking down some of the fundamental cyclic problems. So we have what leads to what I believe is a lot of poor leadership at the senior level. So I think he did a very good job, and I tended to agree with the vast amount of his views on that because I witnessed that in the military when I was in the military. And in particular now, I think we have a real crisis of command, kind of to use the terms he has in the book, and crisis of good leadership. We have very few military leaders who are willing to, I think, do what is right morally, ethically, and legally because they're too concerned about getting promoted and make the next promotion. And we see that almost on a daily or weekly basis in the military justice system, where you'll have a case where maybe it's sexual assault, where it shouldn't be referred to trial, where maybe there's even an Article 32 recommendation for it to not to go to trial, but the senior leadership sends it to trial anyways. And so we'll let the panel or let the jury figure it out because they're not concerned about the young Marine or the young soldier. They're concerned about getting the next star. And we see that weekly, if not daily, at our office. And that's not just in the legal field. He was talking about that, seeing that in all of the ranks. So I completely agree with Lieutenant Colonel Scheller on that perspective. Where the book started falling apart for me a little bit was on how the legal process was handled. I had some issues with that, obviously doing this as a career.
Legal process is handled by him or by his defense team?
Handled by him. First off, he had a real issue with listening to his attorneys. He had, first, it was the Defense Service Office, the detailed military attorney that was appointed to him. He had a lieutenant colonel appointed to him who was a damn good lawyer, who knew what they were doing, and he refused to listen. He just absolutely refused to listen to his military lawyer and was doing whatever the hell he wanted. And that really turned to bite him in the ass. After that first video was posted, he posted more videos, one after the other, and talking about how he was going to burn the whole system down and just kind of going on this diatribe that really wasn't advancing his position, even trying to be an outsider. And when his legal counsel told him to stop doing it, he was the typical client who thinks he knows more than the lawyers, and he ended up getting in pretrial confinement. And then he goes on to bitch about pretrial confinement, how he shouldn't be there. He couldn't believe he was there. But he kept on disobeying lawful orders that were lawful orders given to him. I didn't have such an issue with the first video that he posted. I really didn't. But it's the videos 2, 3, 4, and 5 that were posted. I didn't even realize that there were so many videos posted afterwards until I read the book. And these were just trying to, it was pretty apparent that he, at that time, was really, losing focus from trying to have generals held accountable to trying to have some exit strategy for himself. I found the second round of videos fairly self-serving, and then going on to say he wanted to prefer charges against General Milley, I believe, which you can't do. And the book is just patently wrong about that. Some of the things he talked about, that he could just prefer charges against general officers. It was just patently wrong. Some of the things he talked about in pretrial confinement were just patently wrong. And I had an issue with him just not listening to the advice of his attorneys or counsel. And then the second thing I had an issue with, all of this was about the failed withdrawal in Afghanistan, but yet after plugging into the Pipe Hitter Foundation, he ended up raising about $2 million. Okay. Of that, he talks about how he spent about $500,000 on attorneys, which is kind of mind blowing how these attorneys charged him $500,000 to do a guilty plea. And he didn't listen to a damn one of them anyway. So it's almost like he had to spend this. He had the money there. He had to spend. I don't know where the other funds went to. But even when he had his civilian counsel that apparently were damn near close to $500,000, he didn't listen to any of their advice and ended up taking a guilty plea to, quote, hold himself accountable. And I just didn't buy that. I didn't buy that he took this guilty plea to be a martyr and to hold himself accountable. I think what happened is after he posted the second or third video, ended up in pretrial confinement. Never expected that to happen. Has a court-martial charge sheet where he's going to be serving some serious time in prison. Never expected that to happen. And then, as I kind of predicted on a couple of the interviews I did on the media, they leveraged this charge sheet against him, and he took a deal so it would go very quickly and would not be in the media. But he spins this to almost be a martyr, and I didn't find it that I didn't find that part of it very credible on his end. So really, that book broke down into two real phases for me. His initial beliefs leading up to what caused him to post the video, I absolutely believed and not empathized, but agreed with a lot of what he said. How it was handled towards the end was just like everything you could possibly do wrong as a criminal client or as a court-martial client.